Hi, this is Glenn at Switch Up, here today to review Hyper Sentinel. Many thanks to developers Huey Games Limited for providing us with this review copy. Hyper Sentinel is a space shooter with a retro aesthetic inspired by Commodore 64 classic Uridium. So does it measure up? Let's find out. The original Uridium was created by legendary game programmer Andrew Braybrook and was released in 1986 for the Commodore 64. It was later ported to other microcomputers as well as the NES, albeit with a few changes in order to turn it into a licensed tie-in for movie The Last Starfighter. The game saw you needing to defend 15 planets from the gargantuan threat of the Dreadnoughts, huge starships that dwarfed your ship in size. Hyper Sentinel plays in a similar way to Uridium in that you are charged with destroying all of the smaller cannons and weapons on a huge mothership, much like the Dreadnoughts in Uridium. The number that must be destroyed is stated in the top right corner of the screen, and these are pointed out with a green arrow to help you identify them. Once all of these have been destroyed, a larger, more dangerous weapon is revealed that you must defeat. These are effectively the boss battles, and destroying them sees you complete the stage and move on to the next one. You move on a horizontal plane, and reaching the end of the screen at either side will flip your ship around and return it into the fray. There are power-ups to help you on your way, including blaster upgrades, laser weapons and shields, and you will need these as the game can get pretty tough at times. There are enemy turrets everywhere looking to blow you out of existence, and if you are not careful, you will find your health bar depleting rapidly. Thankfully, there are a couple of things working in your favour on this front. The first is the dodge move. If you flip to face the opposite direction at the exact moment a projectile or an enemy craft is about to hit you, you will dodge the attack. Mastery of this move is key to success in this game. Also, should you find yourself low on health, evading enemies for a short while will see you regain health, plus there is a dash move, although you cannot shoot while using this. Now this is the clever part. In order to get the most out of Hyper Sentinel, you really should be looking to chase those highest scores. You have a high score multiplier displayed in the top left corner of the screen, and destroying enemies, including these special enemies, and picking up score power-ups builds this multiplier. Every time you hide to replenish your health, as just mentioned, your score multiplier is cooling down and dropping back to its default setting. So do you continue to chase that high score and risk going out in a blaze of glory, or jeopardise having your name ingrained onto the hallowed online leaderboards whilst you hide in a corner and regain health? Decisions. The action is fast paced and the risk reward element is very clever. If you are not a high score chaser and only look to complete the levels, of which there are 12, then you might not be as enthralled with the gameplay, but there is also a survival mode available for every level and a mode where you can take on the bosses of any previously completed level. The gameplay is a blast and does an old classic proud and receives 17 out of 20. The graphics use a style that clearly pays homage to the 8-bit microcomputers of old, but does so whilst also adding a level of vibrancy that just would not have been possible in that era. The colours in this game pop from the screen and they look delightful, especially on the Switch's crisp screen. The graphical style is very reminiscent of the Commodore 64, whilst a lot of the colour choices, especially in the menu screen, seem inspired by the ZX Spectrum. As if to prove this point, there is also an option to change the graphic style to play the game using authentic representations of Commodore 64 and Spectrum graphics. I absolutely love the fact that the developers cared enough to add this feature. I'm sure some people may switch to this style once out of curiosity and then switch back to the default graphics, but I ended up playing with the Commodore style more often than not. It would be a shame to write the graphical style off as just another retro style game, because the bold colours are a sight to behold and the graphics score 15 out of 20. Much the same as graphics, the music is delightfully retro. The chiptune tracks are a joy to listen to and add an intensity to your play session that increases the experience. The music just seeps into your psyche and you almost feel yourself playing in sync with it as the action intensifies. Have a listen to this. In some games the music passes you by and you need to return to it to even remember what it sounded like, but here it becomes a part of your play session and scores 17 out of 20. Controls in Hyper Sentinel are as simple as they should be. Movement is handled with the left stick or the D-pad, and this includes your dodge move. The ZR button enables you to dash at speed through the level and the A button shoots. That's it, that's all you need. The rest comes down to your reaction times and your skill level. It's delightfully old school, no complex system to hide behind. The term easy to learn, difficult to master applies perfectly to this game, and the controls receive a 17 out of 20. The game costs £9.99 or $12.99. As mentioned, there are 12 levels, along with survival mode and a boss mode. It also has a medal system, with 5 medals available for each level, and these are awarded for such feats as finishing the level under a certain time or defeating a boss under a certain time. These will keep you returning to the game once the levels have been completed, and the lure of online leaderboards just cannot be underestimated for some people. If you are one such person, this mode will keep you hooked, and value scores 15 out of 20. To conclude, Hyper Sentinel is the latest retro-inspired modern game to hit the Switch. The influence of its forefather Uridium is strongly felt, but it does more than enough to stand on its own 2 feet. Games that take inspiration from previous eras sometimes forget to refine the parts that haven't aged well, but Hyper Sentinel has got the balance just right. It takes the arcade action, high score chasing simplicity of the 80s, throws in those retro graphics but polishes them to a beautiful standard and emulates the chiptune music style to a T. This game is well worth your money and your time and receives a switch up score of 81%. Thanks as always everybody for watching. Please leave a like if you like what you saw or heard, and consider subscribing for more of all things Switch all the time, and as always, happy gaming.